everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from spicy hot Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, it's Thank God I'm Atheist.
The podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're going to be talking, well, it's another installment of what Mormons believe. We haven't done one of those in a really long time.
We met up with some of our listeners. Somebody mentioned, hey, you should do more what Mormons believe.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
Yay!
You will learn all about
Mormon
Satan.
The Mormon devil.
The devil.
It's he wears a suit.
He probably wears a tank top. Shows his sleeves and everything.
No, because he's gonna emulate.
Oh yeah,
the downtown.
He tricks you.
Yeah.
How do you even know who he is when he wears that suit and tie?
I know. You never know.
You never know.
He's buttoned up.
I think it's
good.
I think it's Newt Gingrich. I think that's who it is.
Possible. It's totally possible.
Anyway,
yeah.
we'll tackle that kettle of worms towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
But before that,
Dan,
what do you got?
Apparently, in Moscow right now, there's a real craze going on.
It's all the rage.
It's just crazy. 1 million Russians have already lined up to see a piece of the rib of Saint Nicholas.
Santa Claus?
Well, yeah, Saint Nick himself, that Turkish saint known for giving gifts in secret way back in the day. This is the first time in like 100 years that anybody has seen a piece of Saint Nicholas.
They don't regularly trot out Nick's rib?
No. Well, apparently they had to go into the crypt where he is kept.
Oh, they know which skeleton is his?
He's kept in Italy, right?
Is it Jolly?
I don't know. There is a lot of tinsel about everywhere. So he's kept in a crypt.
Uh-huh.
And nobody's, I mean, they really haven't done any like reliquary type stuff with him in the past, right? But they decided, as part of some special deal between the Italian and Russian governments, to go into the crypt, take out a piece of him.
Just a sliver of rib.
They've created a beautiful, gaudy, display.
Yeah.
Lots of gold and filigree and
as you do,
cornice and whatnot. Crown molding, probably.
Sure.
They've embedded a bit of his rib, and now the Russians, because he's, I guess, the patron saint of Russia.
Oh, of course.
And so they are just like, fuck yeah, let's go see him.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's so funny.
The video, people are, they are not given a lot of time.
No.
But they are freaking out. They love it. There are guards. There are multiple guards, but there are two very serious-looking guards on each side of it.
Yeah.
Right? And there's not really much around. This is very much in the middle of this big cathedral, right? And there are not just the guards, there are also people who sort of escort you in and push you away.
Oh, wow.
You've been here too long, man.
They just manhandle you.
And then people swoop in, quickly Windex it, wipe it down, because the next person wants to come in and make out with it, too.
And touch the...
No, they kiss. They freak out.
Yeah. Masturbate. Whatever they need to do to feel connected.
I wish that masturbation was going on.
To a piece of rib.
That would be glorious.
It's just got jizz moppers and whatever.
Yeah, this
used to be a family show.
Yeah.
That's not true. This never was.
It actually never was. I know people would listen to it with their kids.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Y'all are crazy.
All right.
I like it.
We refuse to warn you when it's happening. So this is happening. It's a big deal. And what was the thing I was just about to say before you said the word jizz, and it totally threw my head.
I mean, here's what I am going to say. Someone at the Vatican who knows where St. Nicholas's body is needs to go down there at some point and dress that skeleton up like Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas, because that's the best St. Nicholas. That's the best Santa costume that there has ever been.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, what I was getting to is sort of the that this is, of course, emblematic of a trend in Russia where they have gotten and are getting more religious.
Oh, good.
They're sort of bucking the international trend here.
Weird. You wouldn't think that Russia would go against what everybody else in the world is up to. Who ever heard of such a thing?
Yeah. I mean, famously, the Soviets didn't really like religion.
Yeah.
And they actually blew up or destroyed or whatever the cathedral that this is all happening in.
Oh.
It's been rebuilt.
Oh, good.
Because sort of the rise of Orthodox Christianity in Russia since the fall of the Soviet Union, they've kind of fixed up some old ruins and whatnot.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But yeah, Russia.
Well, I'm gonna go with a Roman thing.
What?
I'm actually gonna do a quick compare and contrast because I wanted to talk. These are going to be separate stories, but I'm going to make them a single story. A very important thing that happened over the last week and a half. Cardinal George Pell.
Oh yeah.
Is being a guy who long was accused of many sexual indiscretions and helping priests sort of get away with molestations of various sorts, who nevertheless he was basically sequestered into the Vatican and kept in a very high position within the Vatican by the current Pope, who pays a lot of lip service to zero tolerance and whatnot of abuse, and yet still lets this guy totally hang out. Well, now Pell has been he's at the age of 76. He's facing multiple charges in respect of historic sexual offenses.
Jesus.
Said the police of the Australian state of Victoria. So he's going to answer those charges.
Yeah.
He has stepped down from his position in the Vatican, finally.
Wow.
To go and answer these charges. Well, contrasting that with the Anglicans.
Oh, okay.
Who are not immune from sexual controversy, or as they say in England, controversy.
I'm glad you made sure that our English listeners,
that our Brits can understand what I'm saying. Do you people even understand a word we're saying? Anyway, so the Anglican Church, the Church of England, the C of E. So former Archbishop of Canterbury, Lord George Carey, has been since he stepped down as Archbishop of Canterbury, has been in an emeritus role, sort of thing. He's an honorary role.
Well, that's a good gig if you can get it.
Yeah,
emeritus anything, that is good.
Yeah, he was Lord. Yeah, Lord George Carey. I guess he was just. What was his role? I don't know. It's it's just some fancy thing that doesn't really mean anything except that he's fancy.
Oh, nobody's doubting how fancy
he gets
you are,
to retain
Lord Carey.
He gets to retain his fanciness. Well, he doesn't get to retain his fanciness.
Shut up.
After a report on child sex abuse, accused the church under his leadership of collusion. Current Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, made a pretty unprecedented choice and asked him to step aside.
Wow.
I guess he was honorary assistant bishop in the Diocese of Oxford.
Ah, okay.
But he was asked to
no longer be honorary.
Do that anymore. Don't do the nothing that you're doing. Stop nothinging in that capacity.
But he does it so well, Dan.
Well, he can still nothing. It just has to be under a different title.
No honorables
Right.
can apply to him at this point. Oh, that's so sad.
No, I just think...
For him,
Yeah, but I do think that, like...
good for the children.
That's an interesting compare and contrast between how these two organizations are handling past indiscretion. Not indiscretion. There's nothing indiscreet about rape.
Right.
That's not indiscretion. That's crime.
Yeah.
These people are criminals. Even if they didn't commit the rape themselves, covering up, shuffling bishops and priests to different dioceses or whatever, that's criminal. These people, these men are criminals.
Yes.
Evil. It's just...
I think anybody who uses their position to take advantage of others, and that's what happened.
Right. And it's not just that. And then
is evil. Sure.
If you're in a position where your job is to protect people, and the person that you protect is the rapist and not the children in the area that you're sending that rapist to, you're evil. That's what that is.
Yeah. I like the word.
And it's pretty clear.
We should be willing to use the word evil.
Yeah. And it's pretty clear that in their book, they've got a book that talks a little bit about this sort of thing. It's pretty clear you're not supposed to support child rape.
Oh, Dan.
I think.
Is it really?
I don't know.
That
Maybe
book is clear on an issue.
I mean...
Other than I am the Lord thy God.
Right.
Like...
Worship me! That does seem to be like the best, the only really genuinely clear thing. Don't kill, but maybe if I tell you to kill, go ahead and kill. But don't kill, but I'll kill him.
I'm crazy, worship me.
Right. Right. Don't eat shellfish. Oh, it's okay. No, don't. Don't do it. I don't know. Worship me!
Well, Dan, I'm going to build right off of that story.
Oh, good.
Because actually, I think it's rather important to continue on with some things that have been happening at the Vatican.
Oh.
A lot of this has been sort of presented almost as, oh, poor Pope Francis. Oh, he's having to deal with so much right now.
There's a lot on that man's plate.
Oh, well, to add to that plate, police in a raid on a Vatican apartment.
Oh. Are they allowed to do that?
Apparently, yes. Because it's Vatican owned.
Uh-huh.
It's not in the Vatican.
Okay.
Right? They charged in to find the drugs.
Okay.
And stumbled upon a gay sex orgy.
Well, hurrah!
Woo-hoo!
I mean,
involving Vatican officials.
Okay, so we're talking priests.
Specifically the apartment was assigned out to the secretary of Cardinal Francesco Coppopalmerio.
Oh.
Yes. This young man of 50 was having a good time.
He was doing what gay men do.
Yeah.
Which would be fine if you weren't being a fucking hypocrite.
Exactly.
And pretending to be clergy.
Well,
he is clergy.
Also, the palace, the apartment building, right?
Which, of course, it's a palace.
is owned by the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, right?
Okay.
Which that may not be clear to everybody that among everything else that it does, it also is the group that is responsible for looking into clerical sexual abuse cases. Well, so add a little to the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Just a wee bit.
You know what's great about that is that, like, it might be likely that if they allowed the priests a few more orgies, there would be less sexual abuse.
Because you
give them healthy outlets for their sexuality.
Sure. Yeah.
And you don't like bottle it all up into some little ball of crazy that they keep in their loins.
But here's the question that I have.
Yeah.
Apparently, in at least one article that I read about this, it mentioned that the police were responding to complaints by neighbors. This man's neighbors are all cardinals. So these guys threw him under the fucking bus.
Oh, my God. You know why? They weren't invited.
The parties are too exclusive.
You know what? Fuck that guy. He never invited me to the party. I'm going to do him. I'm going to call the police. You do it again.
Shut up. Or... perhaps one was, it was one of the homophobes.
They do have those.
At the Vatican.
Though, frankly, I mean, I just get the sense that the Vatican is, like, literally one disco ball away from a gay club.
Right.
It's just got to be the gayest place in the world.
Right. Well, I loved in the young Pope, the sort of the attitudes about... there was this one character very high up in the Vatican, right? Who he just wants to know if you're straight or gay, right? He wanted to know if the new Pope was straight or gay, basically so he knew what kind of dirt he could get on him.
Right. Fair enough.
Like, it was clear there was dirt.
Right.
Right. Like, but what kind of dirt are we looking for?
I just need to know what rocks to overturn. I'll get to it eventually, but it'll expedite the process if you can just help me out with this.
And I don't think that was too far off. But anyway, so poor Pope Francis, all of these just distractions from everything he's trying to get done.
And he wasn't invited to the party either.
No, but Bergoglio? No, they would never invite him.
So sad.
No.
All right, I'm going to take us to Australia.
Oh, again?
Where there's new census data out.
Oh.
If you'll recall, Franklin, and I don't know that you will, because we don't listen to us. We just blather and not pay attention. But we did a story a while back about a push in Australia to actually mark the no religion thing on the census.
I do remember that.
There was like an ad campaign and everything because so many people reflexively just check whatever box they grew up with.
Right.
Or whatever box, my family is historically Catholic, so we'll just say Catholic.
Right.
I haven't been to Mass since I was 4 years old. I think it's all hooey, but I'll just click
we're
say
Catholic. Right.
Concurrent to that, there's also been, apparently, a big scare happening with us worrying that Australia is quickly becoming a Muslim country.
Oh, my God.
Skun dun dun.
Oh, my God.
So, the numbers are out.
Okay.
Islam comes in at a terrifying 2.6% of the population.
Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God.
I don't know how they're going to survive. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Boy, it's almost a Muslim country.
It really is. It's basically a Muslim country.
Wow.
Now, 22.6% are Catholic.
Oh.
13.3% are Anglican.
Oh.
16.3% other Christian.
Okay.
But the highest single percentage, the highest single category, no religion.
Oh, boy.
At 30.1%.
Shut up.
Isn't that great?
Good for them.
No, that doesn't mean that they beat Christianity in general. I mean, Christianity as a whole, 52.1%. But 30%...
yeah, that's pretty good.
...is, in the words of our president, huge. That's huge.
Well, good on them for for making that happen.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. So that's yeah. I mean they're doing the Lord's work over there down under. They got a whole bunch of non-religious folks. It's just great to see.
How did that happen? Like, what's going on in Australia?
Well, I think they're just copying to it. It's the same thing that's going on everywhere. It's just that they're owning it.
Right.
They're saying it out loud.
And they were smart enough to run a little campaign to like just say, hey, you know, like let's be properly counted.
Yeah.
That's smart.
It's important.
And is Australia one of those countries where religious organizations get a little bit of tax money back based on numbers?
I 100% know nothing about how that works in Australia.
Well,
thanks for asking.
Yeah, I thought it was a good question.
It is a good question. I'm sure we will get an email.
Sure, good. Now the question's out there.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg.
My good friend.
Uh-huh.
And neighbor. Meaning he lives somewhere in these United States.
Yeah.
We're all neighbors.
Yeah. And friends, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Even the strangers.
Yep.
Anywho, he has an idea that actually can help these folk who no longer have a religion.
Oh, okay.
He's saying that Facebook can come in and fill an important role. Possibly even the same role that churches and Little League once filled.
Wow.
That's his opinion of
a nerd's perspective on life. You know, here's the thing.
But
okay, I'm gonna.
You say your thing, and then I'm gonna keep going because he has a little bit of a point here.
I'm gonna have you keep going, but I'm going to say that one of my responses to this is going to be, I think I'm with him.
Well, here's where he goes.
Tell you why in a minute.
He isn't talking about just Facebook in general. He's talking about Facebook groups,
right?
And they've actually been pushing a new algorithm, which is trying to line people up with groups that they can join on Facebook to build communities around certain interests.
Right.
It doesn't even matter specifically what that interest is, just so much that people are involved. Now, of course, TGIA has the members only lounge,
right,
which is a place where people can go and find a bit of community and have conversations, and
it's one of the best groups that I belong to.
Right.
Whether in real life or on the web. The web, you know, here's another thing. We need to stop. We need to get away from this notion that web interactions are not real life. Because you know what? In that members only lounge, real friendships are made and maintained.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we recently had a member of the members only lounge come into Salt Lake, and we had a little bit of a meetup.
Yeah.
It was delightful.
Fantastic.
Met several of our listeners, and we hung out, and it was like old friends.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm kind of with him. Like, it's a place where people who have left their religion can find like-minded, happy individuals to share.
Well, one of the groups that's pointed out in a lot of these stories is the mothers of Mormon kids who are LGBT.
Okay, sure.
This is one that must be in the press release that Facebook issued as an example of one of these communities, because it keeps popping up in all these stories.
Okay,
and which is, of course, if anybody recalls, the Mama Dragons. I think we talked about them.
Oh, is that yes?
And that's what they call themselves. And so there are all these various different kinds of groups. They're not just maybe belief groups, but they're also groups, support groups of various different kinds.
Yeah.
And, there are groups, I'm sure, fan groups about specific shows and whatnot that are active and good, and where friendships are made with people from across the planet.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing.
And but the headline is designed to get you
fired up,
especially the conservatives.
Well, it says
something
about Zuckerberg says Facebook can replace church.
Yeah. Instead of fill a role that churches once played.
Right.
Right. But they don't want any part of that.
That's how I'd write that headline if I were a headline writer.
Yeah.
Sensational. Sensational.
Well, you need people clicking. That's the thing.
I need the clicks.
Yeah.
Need the clicks. So, do you remember... I'm going to remind you of yet another story that we reported on a long time ago.
Oh.
At least a year ago.
Well, this is just the update episode for
it
you,
is.
Dan.
You know how... So we talked about how the founder of Hobby Lobby,
yes.
Christiany McChristiansen...
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Who, Hobby Lobby is the notoriously Christian company that actually took Obamacare to the Supreme Court because they didn't want to provide women with evil health care and all of that sort of thing.
Oh, just the worst kind of health care.
They also the president of that company wants to start a museum of the Bible, which is now under construction in Washington, D.C. Do you remember we talked about this?
I remember this, yeah.
And he had
a huge collection, a crazy huge collection of biblical artifacts.
Right,
shit, right?
Right.
And old Bibles.
Yes, old Bibles and ancient world artifacts. Well, it turns out that some 5,500 artifacts in his in their collection were ill-obtained.
Okay. In what way?
Well, we did talk about this a little bit, but they came from sources that they didn't know.
Okay.
They didn't ask any questions about it. They just found them, and they were contacted about them. They paid.
So they were buying stuff off the black market, so to speak.
Essentially, yes.
Ooh.
Like all of the red flags were there and pretty fucking obvious. Things like, don't pay us. Put the money into these different personal accounts.
Right. We won't talk to you over the phone. We have to meet in this parking garage.
They never met the owners of these things. All of the things that they went and saw were laid out sort of unceremoniously.
Like it was some seedy motel.
It's
Everything's
clearly
just on the bed.
Like it couldn't have been more
standing in the
clearly
corner.
black market.
Yeah.
If the guys were in ski masks, that wouldn't have been more of a tip off than they already had.
The artifacts are like in trunks of cars.
Right. This fell off the back of a truck. Like. These cuneiform tablets, my mom had them in her attic. Whatever. Well, it turns out that now they must turn them back over to the United States Department of Justice or whatever and pay an additional $3 million fine to settle up the civil charges.
Everything... Go Hobby Lobby now because everything's going to get a little bit more expensive. Folks.
Yeah.
The sales are ending
How about
right
this?
now.
Michael's is a perfectly reasonable alternative to Hobby Lobby. Do not go to Hobby Lobby. Don't give them your money. But here's the other thing. Guess where lots of that shit came from?
Where?
These are artifacts from Iraq, from Syria.
Oh, no.
These fuckers are funding ISIS. And that's legit. Like, it's pretty clear that... Because ISIS has a whole system of, they dig up artifacts, they pillage these ancient ruins and whatever, and sell, and that's how they fund themselves.
So if you buy stuff at Hobby Lobby, you're also funding ISIS.
You're funding ISIS. You're funding...
Now that you know, you are.
Yeah, right. You can't unhear that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. You would knowingly...
Hobby Lobby funds ISIS.
Wow.
All of that money. It seems pretty clear that a good percentage of that money.
Holy fucking shit. These people need to be hauled off to prison. They need to be like...
Oh, no, they just paid the fine. They're fine.
They need to be strung up in the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
And destroyed. They need to be brought down. I mean, that's awful.
Here's what's funny.
But through their ridiculous, obsessive belief, they have done evil, directly quantifiable evil in the world.
Yeah. Now they're claiming ignorance. They're claiming...
Yeah, they are ignorant.
They're claiming we're new to the whole antiquities trade. We didn't know. What? We didn't know. Somebody offered to sell us some Q&A form. We thought it was fun.
Actually, they are what the kids at my elementary school would have called ignorant.
Well, that's what they want you to believe.
Ignorant.
I don't believe it for a second that they were ignorant. I believe that they just thought they could get away with it. You want to know another? So here's one of the other ways in which it was very obvious that this was illegal, what they were doing.
Wow.
The cartons containing all of their these shipments were labeled things like tile, or like it was all clearly mislabeled to try and get through customs without anybody looking.
Wow.
It's such bullshit. These bastards.
They knew. They were not ignorant.
100% knew. I don't know. I mean, and they had experts go out and verify that these were authentic, which means that they knew where they were from, too.
Yeah.
They knew that this was Mesopotamian stuff. They knew that it was from Iraq and Syria.
Oh, and they were probably thinking to themselves, like, somebody has to save these.
They justified it in their own minds, but they were funding ISIS, and they fucking knew it.
Yeah, no, of course they were.
They fucking knew it.
Oh, God. Oh, my God, Dan.
So there you go.
I'm fucking outraged right now. Like, I'm truly outraged. What fucking assholes. What pricks. Because
what's funny to me is that I had a hard time finding links to articles that would make both connections. I found articles talking about the connection between the stuff and ISIS, and I found articles talking about the stuff and Hobby Lobby. I did not find articles that connected the two. It took me a minute. I had to make sure that that they were connected, but it's pretty clear that those fuckers funded ISIS. Anyway,
I'm so pissed right now.
We're going to give Frank a little moment to cool down. If you guys have anything you'd like to say to us, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
It is. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click that like button.
And while you're on Facebook, you could search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we'll let you in.
And Zuckerberg will be happy that you joined.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Frank, you want to hear something crazy?
I like crazy.
Because a guest on Alex Jones's show.
Ooh, Alex Jones. He's that reputable news source, isn't he?
He's the infallible, a never-ending, flowing font of reliable news. Yes. And he had this guy on, and he didn't refute anything that he said. Let's take a listen.
But one of Hunter S. Thompson's best friends, he's the famous artist, I interviewed him. He said Hunter S. Thompson was about to expose pedophile rings and things, and that it was disinfo against him by the pedophile rings because he was writing about it. Let me see what Robert David Steele has to say. Go ahead.
No, I agree with that. And let me just point out that pedophilia does not stop with sodomizing children. It goes straight into terrorizing them to adrenalize their blood and then murdering them. It also includes murdering them so that they can have their bone marrow harvested as well as body parts. Pedophilia is much
This is the
bigger.
original growth hormone.
Yes, it's an anti-aging thing, and this may strike your listeners as way out, but we actually believe that there is a colony on Mars that is populated by children who were kidnapped and sent into space on a 20-year ride, so that once they get to Mars, they have no alternative but to be slaves on the Mars colony. There's all kinds of.
Well, look, I know 90% of the NASA missions are secret, and I was told by high-level NASA engineers that you have no idea. There's so much stuff going on, but then it goes off into all that. I mean, that's the kind of thing the media jumps on. But I know this. We see a bunch of mechanical wreckage on Mars, and people say, "Oh, look, it looks like mechanics." They go, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist." Clearly, they don't want us looking into what's happening. Every time probes go over, they turn them off.
Alex, you're one of the most original guys on the air, and you asked what should you do. I think you should be the truth channel in America, and I think you should really try to systematically put guests on that Donald Trump is not listening to because they're being blocked from him. For example, Carl Denninger, co-founder of the Tea Party. He should be a guest on your show talking about how the Trump health plan, the Ryan health plan, is completely dishonest because it doesn't have a price list and it doesn't allow the government to negotiate with the companies. You should have Edgar Fagey, the inventor of the automated payment transaction tax, that would eliminate all taxes, including income taxes on people like you and me, and it would tax currency and stock.
Is that the Tobin tax?
Wall Street.
Is that the Tobin tax?
I don't think so. It's similar. It's a tiny fractional tax on every transaction, including internal corporate transactions where a lot of money laundering goes on.
Well, I don't know about Mars bases, but I know they've created massive, thousands of different types of chimeras that are alien life forms on this Earth now.
I'm lost.
How?
I'm. First of all, I'm very surprised. I hadn't heard any of that.
No, you hadn't. I did spring that on you. Here's the thing. If you're going to you can't just say child sex ring on Mars and then just bounce right off of that to a tax thing. How are you?
Dan, it's such a given.
It's kind of a given.
I mean, it's clearly you're not in the know, but I mean,
if you don't already know about the child sex ring on Mars,
once you've heard it enough, it's just sort of de rigueur.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you just bounce from crazy to crazy, it all ends up sounding the same. You can say anything you want.
Yeah.
But to get to it, I mean, come on, a child sex ring on Mars. That's a bombshell.
Well, Elon Musk has to have something to do once he gets there.
Right. He needs, I
mean, what the fuck?
Well, first of all, they're not children by the time they get there.
Ooh.
They've ruined it.
They're consenting adults at that point.
I don't think they're consenting anything. They're just Mars slaves.
Mars sex slaves.
Sex slaves on Mars. It's got to be the next B movie that comes out. I want to see it. I don't know how Jones's listeners keep up with all this shit. Frankly. I mean, there are, you got to assume that most of his listeners don't believe all of it. But some of them do. Some of them are just full-on believers in this shit.
Oh, yeah. I'm one of them.
Yeah. I mean, he says it with such conviction. He's got that raspy voice, and he just yells it at you. Mm-hmm. How are you supposed to deny that?
Yeah.
He's so yelly.
It must be true.
It must be true.
That's how I know to trust.
That's how yelling works.
News.
Yelling equals the truth.
The louder, the better, the more trustworthy.
Yeah. Well, Frank, we had some folks write into us.
Did we now?
As they so often do. Bunch of people. You remember you and I spoke about the Court of Europe, the Court of the European Union, the High Court of, I don't know what the court is called anymore.
It's a court.
saying that a person could sue a drug company for this guy got MS after he got a vaccination. And
it was total bullshit.
Even though there was no evidence that
that
vaccination could possibly cause MS, the court said that he could still that was still a valid lawsuit. Randy wrote in, dudes rather. It addresses both of us.
Okay.
Writing from fabulous Oregon, veterinarian and Southern Baptist that went over the wall and ran away. Listened today. Cannot remember the details, but you mentioned the European court siding with a person who claimed MS after something or other was given. This sort of thing happens. We've been cautious with meds, even as simple as antibiotics in dogs and cats for some time, since we know some of these drugs and vaccines can trigger autoimmune diseases. So, although it's difficult to prove cause and effect all the time in an individual, we know it happens in the herd. Totally infatuated with the show. Thanks so very much.
Okay.
So, I don't know what to believe about that. It does seem like you should still have to have evidence
in order to
before you can sue somebody for something.
Okay.
We track these things pretty good in the first world in terms of like if there were a correlation between X vaccine and Y malady,
right?
They'd probably have sorted that out. Depends.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's why the court's willing to leave it open.
Out. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, thanks for writing in. Hey, Frank and Dan, this is Lindsay writing into us. After the show mentioning Caparot, you remember this? This is
Swing your chickens.
Swing your chickens, do-si-do. Alaman left and out your sins go. So yes, swinging chickens over the head is the fun part of Caparot. After the show mentioning Caparot, I had to find an article to chuckle over with my other atheist friends. The article mentions A, yes, you can swing chickens by their feet, and B, and more importantly, B, if you are pregnant, you swing another one for your baby. Which begs the question, what sins do those babies need the chicken for?
Original.
Well, or extra crispy. But it's a chicken joke.
Wow, Dan.
Chicken. Lindsay continues, so I inevitably Googled, do fetuses masturbate? One 1996 study says yes, but it seems to be pretty up in the air. However, Republican Congressman Burgess, total surprise he's from Texas, tried to use it to restrict abortion access. I remember that. He basically said if they can masturbate, then they're alive and blah, blah, blah. Which, as he's presumably a Christian, would involve a hilariously being backbending logic.
Right.
Thanks for sending me down that click hole. Yeah. Why would you swing a chicken for a fetus? Why would you swing a chicken? Fucking leave the chickens alone, Jews.
Yeah.
Be nicer to chickens.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Poor chickens.
Poor Jews. Anyway. Hi, Frank and Dan. This is, I'm going to pronounce this Aya?
Perfect.
AJA? How would you? Aya? Aja? AJ?
Aja.
Hi, Frank and Dan. I love your show. I live in Kansas City, Mo, by way of Salt Lake City. And no, I didn't grow up Mormon. Sorry, that's the first thing people ask when I tell them I grew up in Utah. Yes, it is the first thing anybody will ask you. We Utahns get that no matter where we go.
Yep.
Hey, are you a Mormon? Hey, do you have the right to ask me that question? We are strangers. Anyway, I was listening to your latest show, and I wanted to weigh in on the hand over the heart for the national anthem discussion.
Oh.
For the past 4 years, I've had season tickets to a minor league hockey team based in Independence, Missouri. You know, the Mormon Garden of Eden.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, we know Independence quite well.
Yeah.
It's wackadoo.
Yeah.
But apparently good for hockey? I don't know.
That's interesting. Wouldn't have guessed that, actually.
Yeah, and have listened and have had to listen to hundreds of national anthems. I didn't put my hand over my heart for a single one of them. I don't understand why we were forced to listen to the anthem at sporting events. Well, I mean, that's just a tradition. Yeah. Why are we listening? I don't know.
Why is it a tradition?
Right. But I noticed that a lot of people don't put their hand over their heart at these games, so I don't think it's a big deal anymore. Something that is very disturbing at these games is the introduction of the singing of God Bless America. For those of you who don't live in our country, that is not an official American song. It's just a song that became popular. I think it's an Irving Berlin song, actually.
God bless America.
My first season 4 years ago, every Friday was Veterans Appreciation Night, and they would bring out a school choir to sing God Bless America while honoring a war vet. They didn't stop concession stand sales or ask us to stand up, and while it irked me a little bit to conflate serving our country with serving God, it wasn't really an over-the-top production. Over the past 3 seasons, they have ramped this up big time.
Oh, boy.
The last season, they started singing it at every single game, and they ask that people stand and remove their hats. The concession stand workers stop selling food and drinks, and they watch the TV monitors in silence as the little children sing God Bless America.
I think this is worth a letter.
Maybe.
I think you just...
It will do nothing.
It will do nothing, but you'll go on record just to say, hey, feels like you're getting something started here. And I would just ask you to, consider whether, this is a road that you want to be going down. Because, quite frankly, it feels a little weird to me.
Right. Because they're already doing the anthem.
Right.
It's covered.
Right. And
America is taken care of.
And
thank you.
There's nothing really... You want to bring a veteran out and honor them? Great. Go ahead and do that.
But we don't need a different song.
But we don't need to, maybe you could even we don't need to put this on the level of the national anthem.
Yeah.
Maybe do kind of,
argue
in their terms a little bit.
You know what you do? Here's what you do. You mention that it was written by a Jew. I don't know. We need no Jew songs. I don't need to hear me Christian songs or nothing. That's a damn Jew song. I don't want to hear it.
I don't know. There have been some good Christmas hymns.
I know.
Not hymns, Christmas songs.
Yeah, I know.
That came from...
Written by, sung by.
Yeah.
It's the Jews are taking over Christ.
Yeah. Well,
pretty soon the Jews will be the only Christians left.
That's dumb, Dan.
Of course it's dumb. I'm having fun with dumbness. We need to thank some people.
Yes, we do.
And I'm gonna start out, actually, because I've got a thing. We have a new someone has decided to be a patron, not on Patreon, but rather on our PayPal thing. Which is the thing we still do.
Yeah.
So thanks to Shine Happy over at PayPal for the monthly donation. That's really sweet.
All right. Well, we also have a new beatified listener on Patreon.
Okay.
This is actually, it's a group.
Oh.
They're all coming in at the beatified level. Jim, Jose, and our pups.
Oh.
So thank you guys.
It's a family.
It's a family.
Oh.
Thank you so much. And if you'd like to
I hope
join...
those dogs are kicking in their fair share.
Clearly they are.
Okay.
Clearly they are.
Don't let them slack.
And of course, if you'd like to become a beatified or faithful member of the podcast, you can go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and click the support tab.
The Patreon link there, and there are benefits to doing so.
Oh, absolutely! You get a free, a commercial-free version of the show,
which is great. If you come in at the Pope level, should we make an announcement? Our Pope hats are in.
Oh, that's right,
ladies and gentlemen. All of our Pope level donors. I think you have to be a Pope level for a certain amount of time to get the hat.
As long as you're at the Pope level for 2 months,
then you get a hat. If you are a Pope level donor, please write to us and give us your.
I've collected all of them already.
Okay, we've already got.
So everybody who's already a Pope has already given me their address.
Okay,
and we'll be sending those hats out.
The hats are on the way. So if you too would like to be, would like everyone in your neighborhood to know that you're the Pope, Go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on that Patreon
And then,
button.
of course, we still need to thank our Lord and Savior, who continues as James.
James, the Lord and Savior.
Yes.
Praise be unto him. In the name of Frank and of the Dan. Amen.
Amen. Hey, Dan.
Yes, sir.
What do Mormons believe?
Let me tell you something. They believe in Satan.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But here's what's tricky about Satan. And I think all of Christianity's Satan is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I think if you talk to, a member of the Satanic Temple, or even one of the more legit Satanist cults or whatever,
Yeah.
you'll hear a different story about kind of the same figure in Christian lore. But Satan, all right, let's go to Mormon Satan.
Yeah.
Let's dive in.
Yeah.
You'll find similarities between Mormon Satan and other Satan.
You're more broadly Christian Satan.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Mormons have... So let's start with the pre-existence.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is critical in sort of Mormon theology, period.
Yeah.
Right? You look at the Mormons have this thing they call the plan of salvation.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it all gets kicked off in the pre-existence.
This is
I love that. The pre-existence.
Pre-existence. You did exist before you existed. Please understand that in the time before your existence, you existed.
Of course you did. Yeah. Makes sense.
You were in the form of an intelligence. Mm-hmm. That's how we were described. So all of us existed before this life as an intelligence in God's...
As spirits.
As spirits in sort of the mystical realm.
Yes.
Who knows where.
Yeah. And during this pre-existence, there was a great council in heaven.
They had meetings.
Yeah.
There were meetings.
A general conference.
They had
the semi-annual general conference of heaven. And God would get up at his little podium.
There was a fucking hierarchy, of course.
Sons and daughters.
My dear brothers and sons and daughters. Yeah, I guess. And here's the thing. We are all his spirit children.
Oh, yeah.
Gods.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say we, that includes Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes Lucifer.
Yeah.
Satan his damn self.
Yeah. And so anyway, in this great council in heaven.
And Jesus and Satan are important.
Right.
The rest of us, we were kind of bullshit.
We're just hanging out, listening.
Chilling.
Yeah.
But you got these two guys on the right and left hand of God.
Right. And Jesus gets up and he sort of gives his little spiel about how... Well, no, it's first Lucifer gets up.
And this is the board meeting to decide how things on Earth are going to go.
Right.
So they've worked on these presentations for a while.
Yeah.
They've got PowerPoint. They got the whole thing.
He's got his laser pointer.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, this
is Satan.
Yeah. I'm going to go down there. All of us are going to go down there. We're going to get our bodies, right? Because
that's apparently
we get it. That's important.
Apparently.
And I'm going to make sure that every single one of us comes back.
Everybody gets into heaven.
Right.
You get into heaven, and you get into heaven, and you get into heaven.
Right. And Jesus gets, and he goes, and the honor will be mine. Right?
He says, hooray for me, I'm getting everybody into heaven after earth.
Right.
Which, I'm kind of like, yeah, hooray for you.
Yeah. Jesus gets up and says, no, we will be tested. I will go down and I will be sort of the savior figure or whatever. And everybody's going to be tested, and probably most of us aren't going to come back.
Yeah. Everyone will have, and this is...
But we'll have...
I'm about to say an important word in Mormonism. everyone will have agency.
Oh, yeah.
They will all be blessed with the gift, the holy gift, the precious. Literally, I'm on the LDS.org website right now, and it is described as a precious gift from God.
It is, Dan.
Agency.
Yeah.
What that means is God makes us all fairly shittily.
Uh-huh.
We are none of us perfect in any way.
Flawed.
We're flawed beings.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, choose whether you're going to sin or not sin, whether you're going to be good or not good.
Right.
And then based on those choices that you make in this pretty fucked up condition of humanity that you get born into, I'll decide what your eternity looks like.
Oh, I know.
So just know, there was one dude who was like, probably everybody should get to just be in heaven.
Right. Because this whole thing, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. And then there was this other dude who was like, nah, we're going to weed some fuckers out.
Right. So then there's the war in heaven.
There's a war.
And this is actually in Revelation.
Yeah.
Right. Revelation 12 has this kind of war in heaven thing.
Right.
And
so it's
different
biblical.
theologians through the years have come up with different interpretations of all of this. Well, good old Joseph Smith,
he knows the truth.
He read this whole thing and he's like, well, this is the war in heaven. And there was this great count, and he goes and he tells this whole story and blah, blah, blah. And this is why the third of the hosts of heaven, they're fallen angels, and Michael.
Meaning a third of the host, a third of the intelligences, a third of God's own creation.
Yeah.
Goes, yeah, Satan's right.
Yeah.
Fucking don't send anybody to hell. That's fucked up, God.
Right.
And God's like, well, fuck you guys then.
Yeah. Kicks him out.
Kicks them all out.
And the archangel Michael does all of that. He kicks them all out. Boom.
He's God's bouncer.
Also, Adam in Mormon theology.
Yeah, Michael ends up sort of going on to different things.
Yeah.
He's the father of us all.
Yeah.
Physically.
As well.
Technically.
Yeah. So anyway, so you have this this. I mean, the thing is, like, a devil figure. When you think of a devil, you think of a demon and this like horns and tail and just this critter or creature, this being who just wants to torture us.
Red scaly
for
fellow
whatever,
with a
for whatever
bifurcated
reason.
tail and it carries a pitchfork.
Right. And it never makes a lot of sense. Joseph Smith's trying to make some sense of the whole thing. Still doesn't make any sense.
No.
But at least there's this notion of jealousy and hatred that these fallen angels have for those of us who get to come here and have a body.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations, you guys. All of you who have bodies. I assume you all do.
Uh-huh.
I hope most of our listeners have bodies. Everyone who has a body, it means you were on the good guy's side.
Yeah.
You were on Team Jesus.
Yeah.
Not Team Satan.
All of us.
And here you are. You made it.
Uh-huh.
But
and now it's your turn on Earth.
But to make it even more fucked up,
Yeah.
to make Jesus' plan that much more fucked up, God said, Satan, you're kicked out of heaven. You're kicked out of the plan. Your plan sucked so bad that you are condemned basically to go to Earth and tempt these fuckers.
Yeah.
Try to make them do bad things. So the guy that wanted everybody to go to heaven
Right.
is now trying to get as many people away from heaven as possible.
Right. Well, he's jealous.
I have to think he's saving them. Like, we're all getting this from God's perspective. This is all God's history. I got to think, if I'm reading this story from sort of an outsider's perspective,
Right.
I'm thinking he's tempting people to make quote unquote bad decisions so that they come and live in his utopia,
Right.
rather than in God's bullshit utopia.
Right.
He is saving people.
And most of these bad decisions are simple things like having sex.
Right.
And in case of Mormons, drinking alcohol.
Right.
Right.
Having fun.
having fun.
Now, some of it, like,
Oh, of course.
you
Satan
get your Hitlers
gets you
and your whatnots.
to murder someone, boy, he's really. That's not nice.
That's not nice.
That's not nice at all. No, that wasn't good of him.
No, but it does feel like, what possible motivation could the guy who wanted to save all of us have?
But see, then
to ruin it for us.
Here's where God swoops in. Where Heavenly Father swoops in. Mormons don't believe in hell. Not
that's
in
a
sort
good
of
point.
the traditional sense of Satan's luring you away,
whatever hell you guys got
to be in his realm, right? Like that's not how Mormons see it. Like you're still in God's realm. You'll be forgiven in the last moments of the judgment.
You just have to go to
right.
There's three. So heaven. So the afterlife is basically segmented out.
Yeah.
You got your New York, you got your Philly, and you got your
Orlando.
You got your Omaha.
Ah, okay.
So what you want is the exaltation of your New York City,
right?
But I'm just kidding.
No,
there are the three levels of heaven. We've talked about this before, but yes, the highest level is where you get to chill with God for eternity and hang out. And none of this makes any sense at all. Because really, you've got the three levels of heaven, and everybody lives together on these levels. But then there's also the part of the lore where you are going to be your own God if you're exalted, and you've got your own thing. So how are you living with them if you're already doing another thing? The math doesn't quite work out if you actually.
It's fine. Fine, Dan.
It will all be
revealed
later.
So this all gets us round to this idea of like this Satan, right? This Lucifer, who is this actually quite relatable figure, right? This is something that I don't think that that Joseph Smith really thought through. In that he's your brother, right?
Yeah, he's everybody's brother.
He's just sort of kind of, from their perspective, maybe a little bit of a douche, but ultimately at the end of the day, like you say, he was right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're an almighty God, then fucking make everybody so that they're good.
Yeah.
Do it right.
Right.
Stop fucking up.
Agency, though, Dan.
Agency. What's funny is, you and I, we mentioned earlier, a lot of modern philosophy is coming now to the conclusion that there's no such thing as free will. Everything's kind of predetermined in either genetically or through your, you don't choose what situations you were born into or whatever, but basically,
nor the situations that you find yourself in.
Right.
But the way that you decide, the choices that you make, you really don't have a way out of that.
Yeah, you're not really making choice. Like your brain chemistry is responding to the stimuli around you.
This is why some people have taken to rolling dice to make decisions.
Well,
no.
Might as well.
There is a businessman here in town. Owns a prominent bookstore.
Oh.
Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay, I won't say his name or the bookstore on the show, but he has this whole system where he makes decisions. Like he lays out, he's like, okay, if I roll a this, I'm going to do this. If I roll a that, I'm going to roll, or if I roll this, I'll do that. Right? And so he made a major, huge decision, right, to move his bookstore.
Yeah.
Right. All on the rolling of the dice, because he knows that he needs to break out of the decision making apparatus up in his head, so he leaves it to chance.
Well, and he also knows that you take a risk any which way you turn.
Exactly.
So you put out what seem like all viable options, and then it's just like, I don't know.
And it's not the dice are connected to any force of nature that's deciding.
No.
It's just he's willing to accept random over the pre-programmed decisions that his brain would make.
That's nuts. I like it. I tell you what, the truth of the so yeah. I mean, as we start to recognize the fact that, like, do we make choices? Kind of, but like, you know, as we learn that, like, criminals are often not bad people, but people with bad brain chemistry, people who are broken. You know, we get a lot. You know, if you're a schizophrenic and you genuinely believe that people are out to get you,
right.
And that's a very real thing to you, you're going to make choices that are different than someone whose brain is sort of operating at maximum full capacity.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that we learn more and more about, how, you know, deviant behavior, non-normative behavior is often not chosen.
Yeah.
Or you know, you see kids growing up in extreme poverty and whatever. Their choice to steal or to deal drugs or whatever may not be a choice. It may be the only way that they see to live. So I think that as we progress through that, the idea of agency will become more and more farcical.
Yeah.
Because it's nonsense. It's just stupid. But go Satan. I mean, hail Satan. I think that should be the title of this particular show.
Hail Satan!
Hail Mormon Satan. And we, yeah, there you go. We honor that guy who seemed to be the only one thinking clearly in the pre-existence.
On that very important day.
On that, and he was...
When a third of our brothers and sisters were lost to us.
Oh,
damn.
Mormons get so sad about shit like that. It's so... Ugh, they're the worst. Mormons are the worst. Anyway, if you have a special relationship with Satan and you'd like to tell us about it, feel free to. You can write into us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. Tell us all about it. Telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click like. You'll see all the fine things that Mackenzie has to post for you.
And while you're on Facebook, why don't you just search for that TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join? It's a closed group, but that's what keeps it awesome.
Yeah.
And Zuckerbergian.
Nope, we don't let it. He's not invited. Actually, he is. If he wanted to join.
If he wanted to, why not?
I think
he might already be.
He might be in there.
An alias.
Oh. If you want to communicate directly with Mark Zuckerberg, join the TGIA Members Only Lounge. All right. Hey, thanks to Mackenzie for all of her hard work on the Facebook page, and to Danny, Sarah, and Amy for all of their work as moderators in the Members Only Lounge.
And thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston for the use of their music.
Yeah. Who else? I don't know who else to thank.
Thanks.
Thanks to our Patreon donors.
Yes, thank you guys.
And if you would like to join their ranks, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the Patreon link. That'll take you there, and you can help us out. And if you can't afford that, please feel free to go to your podcast listening thing of choice and rate us. Give us that 5-star rating.
Yeah. Helps us out.
Helps us out a tremendous amount. Hey, and guess what, y'all? I want to thank you. Yeah, you, personally.
Our dearest listener.
For tuning in.
Bye.